Hello, students. Once again, I welcome you all. Presently, we are dealing with an important topic titled as Search for a Stranger, written by Gordon S. Livingston. Students, as you know, the writer came across the fact that he is not the real child or the son of his parents, but he is an adopted child. Eventually, this fact was known to the author through his cousin, and afterwards the author confirmed the matter with his adoptive father. Of course, it was a very difficult and critical situation for the writer to know that he was the adopted child of his parents. And now, all of you are familiar with the fact that the entire lesson mainly deals with this fact, and the author, Gordon S. Livingston, is talking about the efforts that he put in the course of time in order to search his mother, his real mother, genetically, who gave him the birth. I think we have completed a considerable portion of this lesson. Yesterday we talked about his long journey for almost 800 miles or so in order to reach out to Memphis 10. Whatever lead that he got from his birth certificate, he could proceed further, and he is trying to find out his own origin, his mother, his father, the agency that completed the process of adoption. All these things were minutely observed by the author, and I think now I am supposed to continue from page number 37. If you see the developments over here, you will realize that the author has gone through a very bad phase when he started searching his own identity as an individual. By God's grace, he was provided good education by his adoptive parents. But now, as soon as he came to know that the adoptive parents adopted him long back, almost before 38 years, and now he came to know about the fact that his real mother is someone else, that was really very troublesome for the author psychologically. So, in this class, I am going to continue from page number 37. The next day, I engaged a local lawyer to help in the search. 24 hours later, he telephoned me. I found you in the Bureau of Vital Statistics, he said. Your birth name was Donald Alfred Cardell. The sealed records are in the Memphis courthouse. We can try to get a look at them tomorrow. For the rest of that day and a good deal of the night, I repeated the name over and over. See, students, this paragraph is going to clear the identity of the author. As you know, the author has already started the search for his own mother. He wanted to find out about himself, his own genetical belongings, his real name, the name of his mother, father, and other akins. I think he started with a thin lead, but now he seems to be quite successful in his endeavors. As the author has mentioned, the following day, the author engaged a local private lawyer in order to search his documents and details from different places, of course, different offices. And he took almost a full day, and after 24 hours or so, the lawyer called the author and informed him that the details that he was expecting, he could found out, and they are available in the Bureau of Vital Statistics. According to the documents, as mentioned over there, the real name, as mentioned as per the birth record, is Donald Alfred Cardell. And the records are sealed and they are under the control of Memphis courthouse. So if at all the author is really willing to go through the records, he could see it the next day after visiting the court during the office time. Now the author has got a very clear idea that who is he. As per the records, his real name is Donald Alfred Cardell. The full day and almost a good deal of night, the author was very anxious and restless. He was very impatient to know further about himself. He repeated his name, that is Donald Alfred Cardell, again and again. And the next morning, we had a stroke of luck. My lawyer knew the courthouse. The next morning, we had a stroke of luck. My lawyer knew the courthouse clerk, and when he casually asked for the record of the adoption proceedings, an envelope was delivered to us. With trembling hands, I removed a legal document and spread it before us. It was an adoption decree headed Probate Court of Shelby County, 17th day of August 1940. My mother's name was Anne Simmons Cardell. Nothing about my father. The document stated that the child is destitute and helpless, but the father has abandoned the child. This could only mean that I was illegitimate. I felt a rush of sympathy for that unwanted child of so many years ago. See, the next day, the author directly approached to the court along with the lawyer, and by God's grace, as the author has mentioned it, that they were really lucky, because the lawyer knew the courthouse clerk personally, and as soon as the lawyer asked him about the record of the adoption proceedings, immediately the clerk handed over the envelope having all the possible details therein. The author was very much anxious and uneasy. With trembling hands, the author received the envelope and removed the legal document and spread it on the table before himself and the lawyer. Actually, it was an adoption decree having certain entries over there, like the probate court of Shelby County. The date mentioned over there was 17th day of August 1940. One more important entry was there. That was about the name of the mother. As mentioned in the legal document, the name of the mother was Anne Simmons Cardell. When they were trying to search out the name of the father, unfortunately, the name of the father was not stated there in the decree, and it was simply mentioned that the child is destitute and helpless. The father has abandoned the child, and that's why the name of the father was not mentioned in the legal document. When the name of the father was not mentioned in the legal document, it means that the author was an illegitimate child. The author, being the professional child psychiatrist, felt a rush of sympathy for himself actually, that the unwanted child of so many years ago, who was abandoned by the father and later by the mother, has grown up well, established well, but it is really unfortunate for him that he did not know about his father. I would like a copy of my adoption decree, I said to the lawyer. The clerk, suddenly realizing my identity, grabbing the papers out of my hands. Only the judge can give you permission to see this, she said sharply. But I had seen enough. See now, probably the lady who was a clerk in the court did not know that somebody who accompanied the lawyer, local lawyer, was the person searching his own identity. As soon as the author read the particulars or the details there in the decree, he requested the local lawyer whom he hired that he would like to have a copy of the adoption decree. As soon as the lady, that is the clerk, realized that the decree is all about an individual and the individual or the person concerned is standing very much in front and asking for the copy, she immediately grabbed the papers from the hands of the author and said sharply that if at all you want the copy of this decree, only the court judge could give you the permission to see this and get a copy. But by the course of time, the author came to know about so many things, especially the date of adoption and the name of the mother, that is Anne Simmons Cardle. And I think that lead was quite sufficient for the author to proceed further. Now, the author knew his real name and the name of his mother. So now he has come to a very comfort zone after knowing these details. Armed with the name, my lawyer made the rounds of the hospitals and finally found a listing of my mother's admission. She was a school teacher from Mississippi. See now, based on the couple of details which were retrieved from the decree that the lawyer and the author read, the lawyer started searching or making rounds to different hospitals, local hospitals, and started inquiring about the name of a lady, that is Anne Simmons Cardle, and the birth of a child over there in any of the hospitals. So after finding or after searching the details in different places, different hospitals, the lawyer came to know that there was the listing of his mother's admission in one of the hospitals for the delivery, and his mother was working as a school teacher and she belonged to Mississippi. Again, I was in the air, heading south towards Jackson, the capital of Mississippi. When I landed, I hired a car and asked directions to the Department of Education. But though I was given complete access to the files, at the end of a long day's work, I had found no Anne Cardle in the listing of teachers. See, one after the other, gradually, the author was collecting enough information about himself. and the search for his mother. From different hospitals, one of the hospital provided the information that there was a lady named Anne Simmons Cardell who gave a birth to a son, and the details were provided immediately that she was a school teacher from Mississippi. So that was the additional link or a lead that the author got. Immediately author started for Mississippi. He came down to Jackson, which is the capital city of Mississippi, and after landing over there by his personal plane, he hired a car and straight away moved towards the Department of Education. He thought that the Department of Education could provide him the full details of the teacher by name Anne Simmons Cardell. Whole day, the author tried to search the file by the name Anne Cardell, but unfortunately, there was no name or there was no teacher by the name Anne Cardell in all the lists of that particular education department. So of course you could now notice one thing, that the author was little bit disappointed because he wanted to find out about his mother. Now you see what actually happens in the story. Discouraged, I started to leave the dusty stacks when I noticed an old filing case marked academic records. I opened it and found yellowed manila folders, one of which carried the neatly lettered words Anne Simmons Cardell. It revealed that my mother had received a master's degree in education in 1952 and gave the name to the college where she had earned it. See the subsequent development in this particular story. Full day, the author worked over there in the education department office. He could not find anything about his mother. He was totally disappointed, discouraged, and he felt that now it is very difficult to find the further lead. But fortunately, what happened? He started to leave the dusty stacks when the author noticed old filing case which was marked with academic records. That was the last ray of hope for the author, and he opened that file marked with academic records. He found yellowed manila folders, one of which carried the neatly lettered words Anne Simmons Cardell. And that was what the author was really searching for. Now he got the further lead in this respect. The file revealed that his mother had received a master's degree in education in 1952 and gave the name of the college where she had earned the degree. Now, the author has got one more lead. Number one, that Anne Simmons Cardell, of course, worked as a teacher, and the academic records provided the details about her academic degrees. Anne Simmons Cardell was MAd, means Masters in Education, and she completed her degree in 1952, and the name of the college is also mentioned in the file. So with this new lead, the author started searching his mother. I think this is another important point that is leading this story to the another track. You will come to know about it later, whether the author is going to be successful to find his mother or not. That the end of the lesson will reveal. But at this juncture, I would like to put a pause, and maybe in my next class, I'll let you know about the further developments in the story. So thank you very much.